Hi everyone.
Yes, sure.
Good evening. Hope everyone is doing good and preparing for your interviews with full dedication. And as part of today's session, I would try to go through some of the Python programming questions. This is just to make sure that we practice more on the Python programming. I would emphasize on programming a lot, whereas my colleague Nitin would be taking up the sessions on more towards the data science related concepts. So just for making sure you get that hands-on and get the groove of Python programming, I would try to take you through this coding related questions. Okay, answers are also there. You can probably practice here, but let us try and do this hands-on. Okay, so this is the question. So what is the output of the following? Now, if I say print Python easy, this is the string that I'm typing in, and I'm saying dot capitalize. What would I get? So that's the question. So let us try and see what we will get here. I'll say print as is. Don't look at the answers. I will type in this, and if I say capitalize, then it is trying to capitalize the words, right? So let us see this. So it is a single string that we have. Remember, it is not upper. It's not dot upper or dot lower. It is capitalize. So capitalize basically saying the first letter of your string or first letter of your word is going to be in uppercase. So because I'm putting this as single string, you can see the quotation here. Python space easy is a single string. Hence, everything becomes lowercase except for this first letter, P. Capitalize means the first letter of your string is uppercase. Right? So that's the result. And if you look into the question, the answer is option B. Right? What is the output of this particular code? If I say print 9/2, what would I get? So I'll type this, and I'm saying print of 9/2. And if I do this, what will be the answer? When I say print 9/2, you can see here it is saying invalid syntax. Code analysis itself is showing that there is an invalid syntax, right? So English, it's like an English language, right? And for print function, you need to have quotation. If I execute this, it says missing parenthesis. Sorry, I said quotation. I'm basically mean parenthesis. The print function by default syntax is print, open and close brackets. And what is this function doing? It's just printing whatever is there in this parenthesis as output in the console. Now, if I put print like this, then it would work, right? So let me re-execute that here by saying parenthesis, by adding parenthesis to it, it will do a proper division and gives us the 4.5 as a result. So if you see print 9/2, then don't get confused. It's not 4/5. It is error because there are no parentheses here. Right. Next. Function used to draw a circle with radius 20. We have a package called turtle. Right? We have a function called turtle, not package. And turtle function with radius 2. So this basically use This is the syntax. For drawing circle, we can use this. I mean, basically area. Okay. Okay, turtle is not defined, so we have to first get it imported. Right? So let us try and check for the error. Now, what we have to do whenever we get this kind of errors, in Python, we'll have predefined error codes. It's name error. That means this particular object is not defined. Turtle is something which is not defined. The name is not defined. So whenever you get this kind of errors, we simply do Google search, right? So you have so many error solutions. We can go to the Stack Overflow errors. Name turtle to non-defined, right? Turtle module in Python is not importing. Probably this is something which is latest 2019. So maybe I'll look into this. So here, turtle is not there. So what you do? You need to import turtle, right? Like this, we can get the turtle imported. So this is how we get the Python library imported, and then we can try and implement the solution. Okay, this is 2020. You need to cross check with the date as well. Whenever you're trying to do troubleshooting, this is how we do troubleshooting, right? So whenever you get this errors, we try and look for solution online because this is open source, right? A lot of solutions are readily available. So when you search, also look for the latest date. Okay, whenever you're searching for solutions, you need to look into that, right? So this is how we need to import. It's very simple, import turtle. So if I do import turtle, now I will be able to do circle calculations, right? Look at that. I'm getting the drawing done. Radius 20. We can pass a lot of arguments here. Where is this? Yeah, we can pass a lot of arguments and get this. Okay. Yeah, where is this going to go? Let me just close this. We'll restart that if required. So that's about your turtle. Okay. Let's not worry about this. We'll proceed further. So the answer is you need to draw a circle with radius. Then turtle is used. Now you also want to learn more about turtle, then you can do help. You can say help of turtle. This is the documentation. I'm assuming we already know how to read about all this. Okay. If you do not find that, then you can probably search here. Yeah. Turtle graphics is a popular way for introducing programming to kids. It was part of the original looping program. So it has a lot of such functions. You can explore this documentation a little more to understand what all things you can try and perform in Turtle. Next, a Python line comment begins with. This is pretty easy. We know hash is used for commenting the lines in Python. Then a Python paragraph comment uses the style. So we're talking about a paragraph now, right? So whenever you start a new Python session like this, you can see here, 3 quotes are given, right? So either single quotes or double quotes, that doesn't matter because in Python, single quotes, double quotes or triple quotes All are treated alike. So this quotation, that's important for saying that it's a paragraph comments. Then we have parent class. So inheritance, basically I'm talking about inheritance function here. So if I have class, parent class, this one, I'm defining self, an object called self. I'm writing x and y. Then printing self underscore x, self dot y. And for child class, I'm defining the parent class here. Inheritance, basically, right? For child class, I'm passing inheritance or these functions directly by allowing the class here as an argument. Then I'll say super dot init, then self dot x equals to 4, self dot y is equals to 40. So here it is self dot x is equals to 5, right? So if I say c dot print, I need to print the values which are there in child class, right? So when you're calling this child class, it will always take, remember, the local values. If the local value is not there, then it goes for the global value, right? So for child class, if you say print, c dot print, you're initializing your class and you're using that as a function and saying, see, print this, c dot print. So it will print x dot underscore, self dot underscore x is equals to value 4. Then self dot y is equals to 40, right? But you already have passed the argument here, right? You are passing here parent class as an input argument and you're saying superset, right? I mean, super dot init, you're initializing this function. So it would look for that value, right? And then try to define what value it has to take. So let me print it here. So this is your class and you're defining that class function here. And then you're saying this one, self. Self is defined here. And then you're passing parent class as an input argument for child class. Okay, let me execute this first. Annotation, indentation is important. You need to address the indentation also. So parent class has both this and this. So this is like you're defining what is self and you're passing what needs to be done when that class is called. And this is for your child class. Now we have to call c dot print. So first I will initialize the function. I'm initializing the class, child class, and then I'm printing c dot print. So y is equals to 40 here, right? It's already there. But x is equals to, so you're calling child class, but that child class is calling a function self dot x, and this self dot x has a value 5, right? So it is internally calling 5. Right? So it is looking for the final value that your C can take. So that's about your inheritance functionality. There's another inheritance functionality here. So we have class A, class B inheriting the properties of A. Then we have function M1 here also. Here also I'm calling function M1. Then I'm defining the main class, which is B is a function which I'm calling here, class B. And then saying B dot M1. B dot M1. And I say B dot I, B dot J. So let us execute this and see. Let me copy this first. So this is class A. initialize your function, calling that function as self, and it is by default taking I as 0. And whenever you call this M1 function, it is doing an incrementation. So this is called as increment operator. Here we are saying I is equals to I plus 1. This basically means I is equals to I plus 1. So we write it in this form. So initially it is 0, then it is iteratively taking the values. So this is for A. Then let us see class B. This is class B. Here also I'm initializing the function self, and here I'm saying j equal to 0. A dot initialize self comma I. That's how we define, right? That's how we need to pass. But here I'm saying I is equals to 9, not 0. Then self dot j is equals to j. And when you call M1, it is incrementing the value. Right? So we are basically trying to increment, define the value, and then from there on, try to increment the value. So here we are defining main class. This is your main class where you're defining B, which internally has A as the argument, class argument, and I want to try and get I and J. So I is defined here, J is defined here. So if I execute these functions and then call main, what would I get? Let us first define this one. I define class A, then I'm defining class B. Okay, then I'm defining main function. So I have defined all the functions. Now I would be calling main. If I call main function, it has to call this function, right? And here we are saying print B of I, B of j. So when I print it, it will look for the value I and j and then give us the result 9, 1. B dot M1. Right? So here when you're calling B, from B, you're initializing A value also, and you're saying I is equals to 9. Right? Whereas J is defined as 0. Right? So B dot 9, you get A or I as 9, J as 0 plus 1. B dot M1, right? You're defining B dot M1 also. So here you're defining the value. So I is equals to 9, J is equals to 1. Then you're calling B dot M1 also, which increments J by 1. So you see 9, 1. That's the result. And 9, 1 is the solution. These are all right, object-oriented capabilities. Rather than deep diving into them, you need to try and understand the flow. Okay. So here also I'm calling function. I'm saying class person. Class person. Self, you define, you pass this argument, self, and when you call self, it is going to print person, get info, end. Then for that person, you are defining another function called student. So for student, you're saying define get info of self. So you're calling this. You say, and return Python is easy to learn. Right? Where get info directly is Python is easy. From print person, this function you're saying call the get info function, which is there here. For student, we have local class, like local result, it says Python is easy to learn. Here you say Python is easy, here you say Python is easy to learn, right? So now if I call the function here, define main, and then try to see what would I get if I execute this, right? I'm calling both person and student. So let us try and look at these codes. So what would I get? So you're initializing the main class here and saying person dot print person. So person dot print person. So self dot get info, right? And then you're saying student dot print person. So when you say print person, it is in this, right? From person main class, you have a function called get person, and you say print self dot get info. So this is your get info. So Python is easy will be printed when you say person dot print person. Then for student, you are internally initializing person only. You are passing the arguments person. Student dot print person. For student, I don't have any local class, the same class, but because I've already passed this value, so student print person. So it is referring to person and then calling it, right? So that means it is again going to this only. Python is easy. So if you try and execute this, you will see both the results as Python easy only. Okay, execute this. Yeah. Now let us execute this. Okay. So let me call main function. It has to print both person dot print person, which would say Python is easy. Student dot print person, from student it is referring to person and then going to print person. So again it says Python is easy. So it has to give Python is easy 2 times. Yeah, Python is easy, Python is easy. Right, so this way your arguments are going to call your subfunctions. Answer is Python is easy, Python is easy. How to identify whether an object O is instance of class A or not? What function should I use? Right? So here I have 4 options. Let me show you. Yeah. So if you look at this options, O dot is instance of A, is instance O comma A dot is instance of O, is instance A comma O. The answer is this. We are trying to identify whether the function is of class A or not. Right? So I have an object O, and we want to check whether the instance of class A, right? Whether O is basically having instance of class A or not. So in such case, we are verifying whether. So how to identify is the question, right? So we are verifying whether object O is of instance of class A or not. So true or false will be given when you say this function. Right? Of course, I have to have object, I have to have class to show you this. So output for the code this. So what will be the code for this if I execute? Let's see. This is loops. We call it as Python loops, right? So you define x is equals to 2. Then we are writing a for loop, a while loop with indentation. While x is less than 8, We are saying x is equals to x plus 1. Right? While x is less than it. Right? So it will keep incrementing x until it reaches value which is less than 8, not even equal to 8. Right? So if I execute it, the answer would be the final answer would be x equal to 2, right? We are starting from 2. Is 2 less than 8? Is this condition correct? Yes, condition correct. So you're saying x is equals to now 3. Again, we go back and check, is x is equals to 3 less than 3, 8? Yes. 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8. Now, is 8 less than 8? So here what you are doing, this condition is correct. So it comes here and increments. So now you got 8. X is equal to 8. Is x, which is 8, less than 8? This condition fails. So that means x value is 8. Right? So x is 8. So this way you need to also try and understand the loops, the flow of the code. Right? Next. Let's see next question. Count is equals to 0. While count less than 10. Print welcome to Python. If I execute this, what will I get? Okay, let's try and see this. So first, initially, count is equal to 0. So you're basically saying, is 0 less than equal to 10? Oh, yes. Then what do you say? Print this. If this condition is satisfied, print this. Right? Then, while, right? So again, you go back. What happens? You're not adding any incremental conditions. You have hard-coded count as 0. Until unless you put a condition or an incrementer or iterator, this loop or this while loop becomes infinite loop. While loops are known for infinite loops. For loops are known for finite looping. Right? So answer would be infinite because there is no incrementation here. Right. Next. What is the next question? Let's see. So next question. What does the loop display? For I in range 1, 8, print this. So this is the condition. Right? So for I in range of 1 to 8, print I and double quotes. That means you're ending with space between the lines. So what would be the output for this? Let me copy paste this and then publish this in Python or print it in Python. Yeah. So for I in range 1 to 8. 1 to 8 means the range starts from 1, it ends at 7, n minus 1, right? So you keep printing value I for that entire for loop. So you would get option as sequential number of values from 1 to 8, that is 1 to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? Very simple, with space between them. Okay, because you are ending them with a space. So this is a simple for loop that we have. Next question. So let's see. I have y is equals to 0. Let me share. Yeah, y is equals to 0. To initialize the code, we are saying y is declared as 0. Then for I in range of 0, 5 to y plus equal to I. So what would be the output here? So let us go here. So hardcode y is equals to 0 first. Then for I in the range 0, 5, 2, that means I will have 0 till 4, right? N minus 1 lower limit, upper limit. And this 2 is step size or increment size. That means 0, then I would have 2, then I would have 4. That's it. Start from 0, then add 2, we'll get 2, then add 2 again, then we'll get 4. That's it. 5 cannot be taken, upper limit cannot be taken. And for this range, you are adding y is equals to y plus I. So y initially is 0. Y is equals to y is initially 0 plus I. 0 only. So y becomes 0. Then again, y is equals to 0 plus, now I is 2. So y becomes 2 here. So you say y is equals to 2 plus next y, 4. So y is equals to 6. Right? So that's the answer here. You can see. If I say print, or if you see y here, and if you execute, it says 6. Right? So option is 6. You can either say print of y or y. So this is how we get y value. Then how many times iterator, again I'm looking at iterator functions. So how many times this line gets printed or executed? So for I in range of 5, and within that for loop you have a nested for loop. For j in the range of 5, print I multiplied by j. So what will I get? Right? Let's look into the implementation here. So let us copy paste here. Yeah. So I'm saying for I in range. So what would be the answer? Let's see who answers this. I is in range of 5. That means I can take values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. N minus 1 values only. So I can take values this. Then you're saying within this, take j in range, same range, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here you are printing I multiplied by j. So first I will be 0, right? Then you're printing this, all will be 0, right? Then you print for this 1, then you print for 2. So you'll keep doing this calculation, right? So if I do this calculation, what would be my I comma j? Look at that, all this, right? All these are the values. How many times the print statement executed? So you might want to save this into an output and then say length, right? If you see the print, how many times it is getting this printed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have first I, right? So we said this, right? 0, then you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? You're multiplying I multiplied by j. Then here, if you multiply, how many times you get? 5 calculations, 5 times it comes. This is I, this is j. Then here again you say 1. So for this also it prints 5 times, right? This is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, so on and so forth. Then we say 2. This also multiplies 5 times. 3 also multiplied 5 times. 4 also multiplied 5 times. So in total, it is printing 25 times. Right? 25 times. So that's your answer B. Next. Theoretical question. If two vertices are connected by 2 or more edges, these edges are called as, so 2 vertices are there. So I have 2 vertices. Vertices means nodes. Let's say A and B. 2 vertices are there. These 2 vertices are connected by 2 or more edges. Right? So these 2 vertices are connected by 2 or more edges. Edge is nothing but connection between them. Right? If you see these vertices connected like this by more than 2 edges, then we generally call them as parallel edge. Called as parallel edge. So the answer is, yeah, parallel edge. Edge is parallel. So if I have more than 2 connections between them, obviously they have to be parallel with each other, right? Or same edge has to be there. So they are parallel edges. Remember, edge will always be between 2 vertices, right? So here we are saying parallel edges. Next. Next question. What is the number of edges in a tree of n vertices? Yeah, if I have n vertices, what is this? Network analytics, guys, all this is network analytics. Imagine the tree-like diagram where you have n vertices. That means n nodes are there. So for these n nodes, how many edges are possible? How many edges are possible? N minus 1. N minus 1 edges are possible. So if I say 5 edges are there, sorry, vertices are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can connect like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Edges, interconnecting them. So the number of edges in a tree with n vertices start with n minus 1 edges. Okay, so this is basically your option B, n minus 1 edges. Very good. So next question. In Python, how do we represent lists? In Python, we have 4 types of sequential objects. In fact, 5 types of sequential objects, right? First one is list. Then we have tuples. Then we have sets. We also have dictionaries. These are the sequential data types. And then we also have strings, which is nothing but a list of character data. Right? So, but still it is a sequential object. So we have total 5 sequential objects. So I'm saying list of this. List is represented using square brackets. Tuple is represented using normal regular parentheses. Sets and dictionaries are represented using flower brackets. Strings is again represented using here square brackets, or strings can also be a tuple. So here I say list of PQRS. Now when I say list of PQRS, what will it do? Will it give me like this, A, B, or C, or D? What would be the answer? List of PQRS. So what is the answer? You should have been done by this time in your spider, and you should give me the result. It is taking list of each value as a separate entry. It's a string, right? So where each letter is treated as a unique object. So we have 4 letters. So each letter is separated in your list option. So answer is D. Okay. So next question. To shuffle data, we use what function? Shuffle function. We use this in especially for doing the partitioning. Whenever we want to do data partition on our data set, we generally use this shuffle function so that once the data is shuffled on cross-sectional data, you can sequentially print. So when you do shuffling, automatically the partitioning is happening randomly only. Final result will be random result. So A, B, C, D, which is the shuffle function. So if you have to shuffle the data, then the answer is the last option, D. Random dot shuffle, because shuffle is a function under random module or random function. So answer is D. Okay. Now, for example, data is a list of values from 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4, 5 to 1, 0. Okay. Now reverse indexing. What is data this? -1. So this is your data. We have 1, 3, 2, 4, 5, 2, 1, 0. Now we want to see data of :-1. This is data, a list of values, a list of numbers. So what would I get here when I do this? Data -1. No. Yeah, the answer is correct. -1. So indexing in the forward way, forward direction goes like this, right? From 0 it starts. Now for reverse indexing, this is also indexed, but for reverse indexing, we'll start from -1, right? Like this. So now what we're saying here, print all the values, right? We are saying print all the values except, or till -1, you can say. So if I say 1:8, that means you are going to get from 1 till 7. If I say :8, that means you are saying everything from 0 till 8. That means one value before that. Same way here, you're taking all the values except the last one. So from -8 till -2, right? That is nothing but you eliminate this 0 and represent, and it is 8. It does not start with 0, it starts with -1. Reverse indexing. So answer would be A. So let us see this. I'll copy this and print it here, and I'll call this as data. Now for data, I want to see all the values starting from 0th index or the first index till -1. Upper limit is not considered. -1, -1. So remember, upper range, we say n-1. In Python, the range is always starting from lower limit to upper limit -1. That means from 0 index by default to n-1 if I have range n. So here n is -1. So -1 -1 means -2. Till -2 you get, which is this. So all the values except 0 will be printed. So the answer is A, option A. Now, to remove string done from list 1, what should we use? There is a string called done in a list called list 1. So what is the function that I use to remove the done? Yeah, so there are 4 options here. Which one do you think is the right option? It is a string. Clearly, the question says it is a string, right? That means you have quotation here that's also being clearly represented. So list contains, right, multiple values, and we have one string called done. If I have to remove that one string, then you have to represent like this. This is not correct. This is not a valid syntax because it's a non-numeric data. You have to put it in quote. So you say list 1 dot remove done, not remove all. It's not saying remove all. To remove string done, right? So the answer is the B, answer B. We have not explicitly asked to remove all, right? So we'll only consider the default option. Always go with the simplest option, that is option B. List 1 dot remove. Suppose I have a data like this, a list of values. Then if I do pop, remove will remove a specific value. Then what will happen if I say pop for this? This is the list, right? So let me say data is equals to this specific list. Okay. Now I want to say pop 1. Okay. So what would happen if I do pop function? Python works with first in, last out, or last in, first out function. It's like a stack. So if I have to pile it up, objects, you're putting the first object here, second object, third object, fourth object, fifth object, sixth object, seventh object, right? So the last object which is stored will be the first option to go out. Last in is the first out when you say pop function, right? If I don't represent this one, but if I represent 1, then it is going to address the value which is at the second position of your list. We are specifying the index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So specifically asking for index 1 value to be popped out. If you don't represent this pop value, I mean the index there, then you will see that it is going to remove 21, right? But if I say pop 1, then it is going to remove 3. because 3 is at the index 1, right? Pop 1 will remove the option 3 here. So the answer would be anything without 3. So this is A. Option A is the right answer. Right? Then split function. Very popularly used in string manipulations. Split function is used to create tokenizations. Right? It is used to create tokenizations. So if I say welcome to Python, right? That's a string and I'm saying split. What would I get if I split this? So these are the options. So what would I get here? Welcome to Python dot split. I'm not passing the delimiter. Mind you, I'm not explicitly passing what is the delimiter. Okay. So what would happen? So if you observe, A is same, B is also same, C is also same, and D is also same. Answer is rebuilt. That's the problem with this text. Yeah. So all the options are given in the same split. By default, space delimiter, right? But this is a tuple, this is a list, this is a set. This is invalid. There's no syntax. Now Python by default treats the data in string format, list format. So option would be B. Welcome, then to, then Python will be your values. Right? It's a list of 3 strings. Next, let me see the next question. Output for the below code. Yeah. So I have output for define a custom function. Right, I'm putting a custom function here and then trying to define this value. Okay, let me first execute this and then we will see. Yeah, so I'm defining a custom function. Yeah, f of values, and then you're saying values of 0, index 0 is 36, right? Then v is equals to 1, 6, 11, and you are calling function for that. Okay, I mean, you can say this is like this. So you define your custom function first, which is values of 0 is equals to 36. Then you are saying call the function f of v. Okay, imagine what is happening there. Yeah. So when you execute this, let me execute this. This is the custom function. So when you pass values here for the function f, then it is going to look into the first index value, which in this case is 1, will get replaced by 36. So you can see f of v. And if you say print the values, print v, then it is going to print you 36 in the first position. Right? So the answer is C. So let's take next question. We have a list of numbers to be sorted out. This is a list of numbers. Okay. So I have this result Okay, let me show you the 4 options that I have. One second, I'm hiding the answer. Okay. Which list represents the partially sorted list after 3 complete passes of selection sort? So we have list of numbers that we need to sort. So we are doing selection sort and we are passing that function first. Right? So here, what would be the partially sorted final output for our data? Yeah, so the answer here would be 7, 11, 7, 7, 11. 1, 6, 18, 20. Okay, 19, 20. Okay, this is a little. I need to do this. Fine. Answer seems to be 3. Answer seems to be C. I'm just trying to figure out how is it C, so that I can explain it to you. 1, 6, 8. So first partials, and this is going to do that. Second is going to do that. 3. Fine. So I'll just explain that probably in next session, how we are getting this answer. We have to do a partial sort. Okay, there's something called as partial sorting. We'll have to do that. And when we pass it for 3 times, we are getting this result. Okay, so answer is C. We'll look into that. So let's see the next question. We'll not waste time here. We probably are running out of time. So we'll look into the last question for the day. And next session, I'll explain about this. So custom function, here I have a custom function. Define f, which takes value I and values, which is a list. So it is taking 2 arguments. I'm saying values dot append I, we are appending this value to list, right? And we are saying function of 5, function of 2, then s of f of 21, print s. So what would be the output? Yeah, what would be the output here? So let us define this. So I'm defining my custom function. Then I'm saying f of 5 and f of 2. F of 5 and f of 2. Then I say s is equals to f of 21. Am I correct? Yeah, f of 21. So now what will be the result of s or print s? So I'm defining this and I'm defining f. Look at that. Append function, right? So finally I'm saying s is equals to f of 21. So I already gave you the hints. Now what would be f of 21? So what will be the output of s? It would be option C, list, right? So first we are saying f of 5. So I and basically this empty list, null list. So it is adding, append means add that value to the null list. So 5 gets added to the list. Then again I'm calling function of 2, same function. So now already that empty list has been appended by 5. So if you add 2, then it becomes 5 comma 2, right? Then if I say s, then s is 5, 2, 21. Append means keep adding. Right? So this is basically how we can try and learn, friends. There are a lot of these kind of questions. Keep practicing. Python is the key. Okay, for your interviews. More practice you do, especially because you are now freshers, as an organization, if I have to hire 1 year experienced person, 2 years experienced person, or a fresher, I would want you people to have good coding skills. You should be familiar with Python programming. Now, if you're an experienced person, then the case is different. Basic knowledge of Python is good. You should be able to write algorithms. You should be able to at least understand what is the code which is written for a senior folks. But for junior employees, you need to do coding skills. I mean, you need to possess that coding skills. So focus more and more practice you do on Python programming, better command you will get on the language. Remember, practice makes a person perfect. So more practice is required. Okay. Okay, let me see the questions. Yes, append means add to the last one. After 3 complete passes means 0, 1, 2, 3, then ascending order. Not really. Yeah, it's not returning anything or printing. Okay. What questions I can expect in the coding round? So, not sure what is your name. So the Cool Hunter 2223. Yeah, that's the question from one of our audience. See, it is dynamic. Okay, I cannot say you can expect these kind of questions. It purely depends on the interviewer, right? And you may have different requirements in the organization, right? Job description would give you that hint, right? You have to be thoroughly understanding the job description. You also have to explore on what kind of projects this organization is into, right? And then prepare accordingly. Be ready to face any kind of programming questions, programming related questions. I'm pretty sure, unless until it is a written exam, in I should say face-to-face interviews or telephonic rounds, when you have a live conversation, I'm pretty sure, at least till now, I have not seen anybody asking you to write a code logic or explain a code logic, right? So that's something that I have not seen. But if it is a written exam, then they might be giving you these kind of flows, loops, or conditional statements, and then they will expect you to answer by manually evaluating the flow. Okay, we are doing this exercise just to make sure that we practice on those things. Yes, I'm talking about data analyst profile only. I'm not talking about a core programming profile. Okay, I'm talking about data analyst profiles. So if you have to do data pre-processing, then you have to play around with the data, right? How do you play around with the data unless until we know all these tricks? We don't know all these tricks in Python. So that's the idea. All right, friends. So we'll wind up for the day. We will connect tomorrow and try to discuss this further. Okay. All right. Thank you all. Keep practicing, guys. That's the key. Don't forget, practice makes a person perfect. All right. Thank you all. Happy learning.